When you have a seed in your hand, the seed is not impressive unless your perspective sees it as valuable, unless your perspective understands that once you put that seed in the ground and you take care of it the way you're supposed to take care of it, that it can make thousands and thousands of more seeds, that it then recycles the same thing that it is. Someone would rather much more have a tree that is big, that is producing fruit already. It's like, look at my tree. Those are the things that we post. Those are the things that we talk about and we boast about. We talk about the tree. We're going to talk about all of the fruit. Yo, look at my life. Look at this. Look at that. The whole nine. We don't talk about the seed, though. And the seed is the most valuable thing in the entire process or equation. Why? Because the seed is the thing that creates the tree. Once we start seeing the problem, then we start valuing the seed. We stop giving our seeds away. We stop misplacing the seed. We stop devaluing it so much. We protect the seed. And protecting the seed means that I am not going to allow any belief come into my system and ruin my understanding of the potential behind the seed. Welcome to the 150 podcast. This is a podcast specifically designed to bypass surface level change. On this podcast, the aim is 150% breakthrough. Breakthrough for the whole man, not half of the man, not some of the man, all of the man. I'm your host, Coach Moon. Thank you so much for joining. Today is episode 5, and today we will be exploring what happens when we finally decide that we're going to believe. What I'm saying is we're not going to leave this day until belief is activated in our lives. What are the things that happen? Today we're going to explore that. Again, thanks so much for joining. For those who've been rocking out with me, I really appreciate your support. Continue to support, like, subscribe, share with whomever you think is going to need this message. Let's get to work. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to explore the definition of belief, where I'm coming from. So everybody's clear as to the direction that I'm heading in when I'm talking about belief. Okay, so looked up the definition, and this is basically a core definition of belief. Okay, so belief is a state of mind where you place trust, confidence, or conviction in something or someone. It's the internal stance that something is true, real, or reliable, even when you can't prove it yet. That is key right there. Please make a note right there. Even when you can't fully prove it yet. Okay, we're going to expand it a little bit more. It's the feeling of being certain that something exists or is true. It can also refer to something you accept as true, whether it's spiritual, personal, or based on your experience. From a philosophical angle, belief is a mental attitude that something is true, even without active analysis. Okay, so that's the core breakdown of belief. I'm sure that everybody has their own persuasion when it comes down to belief. There's probably people who have studied faith or belief from a religious standpoint, self-improvement standpoint when it comes down to confidence in yourself and the whole nine. We're talking about every single bit of that, every single bit of it. Because one of the things that happens with us when it comes down to belief is our belief a lot of times is built up based off of external sources, things that come from the outside of us. And although our belief system belongs to us, we own our belief system, it can still be influenced for the most part by things outside of us. There is nothing inherently wrong about our belief system being shaped and molded by different sources. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, when we were babies, we had to learn and adapt to the things that happened around us. So there is something that is default when it comes down to our belief system being shaped in a particular direction, right? But it can be dangerous as well. It can be very dangerous. The default can be dangerous if you're being taught in a direction that is harmful to you or someone else. So, I mean, I am talking about being able to navigate a clear understanding of what is something that you have received as an individual and have imported it into or integrated it into your belief system that has come from an external source, being able to identify those things, because that is where I think a lot of our growth and development happens, when we start recognizing some of the things that are in our belief system, the source from where they have come from, and then how and why we validated them as truth. And now this is how we live. We live based off of those truths. So when I say that, okay, there is a default, the default is human. Okay, we're human. We have to evolve and we got to develop. We got to grow and we learn. But then there's also a dangerous side to that. The dangerous side is, again, beliefs that can come into our belief system that can affect ourselves or other people negatively. So when we start to believe that something can happen, that even if something externally has been put into my belief system in a way that makes me feel like the thing that I am believing for is not possible, then there's certain symptoms, there's certain things that start to happen. I can remember so many different events in my life, so many different times in my life where I would start to believe something based off of external sources, and I would just start collecting those beliefs over time, whether it is, and I'm not just talking about faith, I'm talking or religion, I'm talking about things about myself, things about my identity, things about my personality, how I carry myself, how I respond to various things in life, things that shape my character, all of those things that can literally affect myself or people around me in a negative way. There's been moments where I've challenged them. I can remember feeling like challenging those beliefs that were integrated into my system that I knew something was wrong with. There was something in me that was like, no, there's something that's wrong. Something doesn't feel right. I couldn't articulate it in the moment because I didn't have the words or I didn't have the understanding, but I knew that something was wrong with what I was being taught, whether consciously or subconsciously. There were people around me as I grew up that basically had low self-esteem. Not only did they have low self-esteem, but they didn't have confidence in themselves. All of their confidence was based on external validation. And these were people that were basically raising me. I mean, it was people that raised me, people in my family that struggled with these things. And I had no idea that it was going on until I got a little older and started getting freer in certain areas. Then you start to see, when you start having conversations with people that you once respected when they were younger or when you were younger, and then you kind of like, wait a second here. I know better now. You start to look at your past as like a tool to say, all right, man, let me now analyze some of these things that I've integrated into my belief system. But back to what I was saying, I can remember looking at all of those different things, those nuances of belief, the low self-esteem. It was literally transferred to me in a sense where it's not like someone walked up to me and said, you have low self-esteem. You have low confidence. You don't believe in yourself. You need external validation. It was the systems around me that fortified those weak beliefs, and the people that were basically reteaching what they were taught from previous generations to carry themselves in such a way that is below their God-given ability to live. Right. So that's a reality. There's a transfer that happens when it comes down to us and people around us that we grew up around that didn't have the things that we aspire to right now. And let me say this. It is absolutely okay for us to analyze those things, recognize them as weaknesses or recognize them as beliefs that need to exit the building, need to leave the building. They have to go. It's okay for us to do that. And I think a lot of time it's very difficult for us to do that because we've been conditioned in that space for so long. We get conditioned in a space where we literally feel like we're not worthy to be a certain thing. We're not capable of doing something. One of the things that I often tell the kids that I coach, including my kids, is not to say you can't. Now, okay, let's be real. Can't is a word that's in the dictionary, but I want them to condition their vocabulary in a way that helps them to identify things in their belief system that need to change. There are certain things in our belief system that we have to change. If we don't change it, I say this all the time, we are going to continue to go in the cycles that we continue to go in every single day. And some of us don't even recognize the cycles. I can remember when I first started in corporate America, I remember going to meetings and working for new companies. And I always wanted to, show that I was, worthy of praise or, worthy of the job that I was doing. And I always wanted to show my effort as I'm an excellent individual. I know how to handle myself in the whole nine. And so I used to go into meetings with that thought process. Earlier on in my career, I felt like I had to prove myself all the time. So I can remember sitting in these big boardrooms with all of these techs around, all of these techs, the managers, and sometimes the directors come to the meeting, and everybody has to give a report on what they did, or what they're working on, right? What are the, we all had projects, we all had various things we were working on. Of course, we did support as well. What are you working on? And I can remember, as the questions are going around the table, I'm listening to everybody else's words and thoughts about the things that they're doing. And people just sounded so confident to me. They sounded like they were geniuses. They were like on top of their game, and they're just explaining all of these different terminologies, and they know how to present themselves. They didn't look nervous at all. And then as the turns were going around the table, the closer it got to me, the more my heart started to beat. I used to wonder, like, am I weird? Why in the world does this happen? Why am I so nervous every single time we get into one of these meetings? I mean, I was there for about 6 to 8 months, a year, and it was still happening. It got a little better, but it was still happening. Every time it got around to me, like, I would get a little nervous. And then by the time it got to me, I would articulate what's happening with my different projects, and I get it off my chest, and they would go to the next person. But every time I left the meeting, I felt so inadequate. I felt like, man, I did a horrible job. Man, I got to do better. I always had this notion that I wasn't good enough. Something I said didn't work. I presented myself wrong. I don't know. I talk with a voice that just wasn't confident. And the reality was, nobody around me had any issues with what I was articulating. Nobody, because I got raises every quarter. Every time we had to get a raise, or we got a raise. I got great performance reviews, no issues whatsoever, no reprimands, no correction. I did my job well. I was very good at what I did, and I knew my stuff. I was very confident in my ability to do my work. There was just something in my belief system that made me believe that I wasn't good enough, that there was something missing, that everybody else around me had something that I did not have. And so for years, I would ask myself, why? What is going on with me? Why do I feel so comfortable when I get home around my family? my kids and my wife. And then it's like an out of body experience when I'm challenged in areas where I feel like I have created these moments of inadequacy. I'm not worthy, or I'm inadequate. The truth of the matter is, if you dive deep into, if anybody's had those experiences, I'm sure that you probably have it if you're listening, a lot of the lack of confidence, or the lack of self-esteem, or the lack of belief, or the lack of like, I can and I'm good, I'm supposed to be in here, I worked my way here, they wouldn't have let me in if I didn't belong here. A lot of that comes from our upbringing. And I'm a huge advocate for us analyzing what happened in our lives, not to demonize the people that we grew up around. They did what they knew to do in the time that we were around them. They did what they knew. I'm not bringing this up so that we could now create this huge laundry list of issues that we have with either our parents or our grandparents or our uncles or aunts or the people that were around us. No, it's not about that. It's about knowing where it came from. So what I used to do was this. I used to literally go to my parents, go to my grandparents, my uncles and aunts, and ask questions. How was it when you grew up? What happened in your life? And a lot of times, most of the times, they would share things about their past that I was like, I had no idea that happened. I'm talking certain crazy things that happened in their lives that I had no idea happened in their lives. And it would help me to understand why they corrected me the way they did, why they spoke to me the way they did. Why? Because kids do this a lot. I've caught my kids do this on many occasions. They will literally watch me as I'm talking to someone else. I'll catch them like staring at me. And I used to do the same thing when I was a kid. I used to stare at my parents and they would talk to someone else. It was almost like a learning that we were trying to do. We're trying to figure out who are they in correlation with who they're talking to. And there's a lot of a lot of key elements in that type of communication that you can see without words. So you can see if someone is being really confident in what they believe and who they are when they're speaking to someone else, just like you can see if someone lacks confidence or someone lacks self-esteem in a conversation. Right. And so I can remember seeing those things around me, seeing people be unauthentic. And what I mean, or another word is being hypocrites. They would be one way when they're around us, around family, core family members. And then when they would get around other people that they wanted to impress, you'd see them change. They would change up. It would be this huge. And I'm not talking about changing to the element of what's going on around you so that you can, correspond correctly. What I'm talking about is a complete change, almost like they were a totally different person. And so looking back and seeing the different things that happened with the people that I grew up around helped me to understand why I have some of the tendencies that I have in my life. But when you decide that you want to clean up your belief system, then there's certain things that begins to happen. One of them is you start to understand where you have borrowed someone else's confidence, where it's not your own. It does not come from you, from the inside of you. And the confidence I'm talking about is you don't know something 100% where, you're a subject matter expert on something, but you still have enough confidence in yourself to be able to express who you are, even if it's expressing what you don't know about the subject. Like, that's the kind of confidence that I'm talking about. And when you start to clean up your belief system, you start to realize things that you're confident in naturally versus the things that you're confident in because you borrowed someone else's confidence. Yes, that's a thing. Yes, someone that you may admire, someone that you may look at and say, this is a person that I want to be like. And there's nothing foundationally wrong with that. I think that's, again, I think we talked about that a little earlier. It's natural for us to be that way. But when we rely on other people's confidence and we build our confidence up based off of a borrowed confidence that we're taking from someone else, we are setting ourselves up for failure. That's just my belief, y'all. The reason why I believe that is because what happens when you're by yourself and you are challenged at a level where no one else can help you, no one else can speak for you, no one else can vouch for you, no one else can stand up on behalf of you. Then what? Who are you? Where are you in your thinking? That's the challenge that we must ask ourselves on a continual basis. So again, it doesn't mean that we alleviate beliefs in our belief system that align with our core values and the principles. And I'm not saying that we just start nitpicking and start looking at things up. No. What I'm saying is, if something in your belief system that you have developed based off of some external source, you have to, at some point, believe that for yourself. It got to be something that you believe, not just because somebody told you. So in the analysis of our belief system, there has to be this space where we investigate what's there and why it's there. There's so many times that I've been freed. And when I say free, when you get free from something that has had you bound for so long, I'm talking like some crazy belief system, some archaic, antiquated thought process that says you have to do something in a certain way or else. And then you figure out later on in life, well, that was wrong because my experiences tell me different. My experiences tell me something totally different than what you said. And then when you challenge that, the system where it came from almost like destroys you, or let's attack this person. When you experience that type of freedom, it feels like somebody opening a cage where a bird was locked in a cage for years and the bird flies. Belief systems that kept me in bondage. Like, you can't be this. You're limited there. I'm telling you, the very first thing that we do when we decide that we want to believe is we start seeing the problems clearly. And one of them is borrowed confidence, borrowed expectations, a borrowed identity. That's a scary place to be when you don't know that you're there. You start noticing all the places where you try to fit in. I can remember so many places where I wanted to fit in, where I wanted to, from a kid, you want to fit in. You want to, like, you don't want to be the one that's left on the sideline. You don't want to be the one that is never picked for a basketball game or a football game. You want to be in. That's just the way in which society works. It's the world works, is we want to fit in. A lot of times, though, we will take our square and try to force it into a circle. We will lose all authenticity. We will lose the uniqueness that God has put on us just to fit in, just to impress somebody or make somebody believe that we're something that we're really not. The question is that freedom? The obvious answer is it's not. But how many of us live like that every single day? One of my favorite stories in the Bible comes from the book of Judges, where there's this gentleman in Judges chapter 6. His name is Gideon. And Gideon, just to give a quick snapshot of what's going on, he's living in a place where all of the people, his kindred, his group, tribe, whatever you want to call it, is being basically persecuted by external group called the Midianites came in and they just took over. And Gideon is in a space where he's afraid, just like everybody else around him. He's afraid. He's scared. And you know that he's scared because in the story, he is threshing wheat in a wine press. So you know what you do in a wine press, and you know where you're supposed to be threshing wheat. He was threshing wheat in a wine press. He was afraid. And just like everybody else was around him. Listen to this. His condition was in a particular state, a fear state, just like everybody else's around him. He was afraid. Fear is natural. It's a part of life. I think there's some fear that is healthy. But the thing that I'm trying to point out is he was afraid, and the people around him was afraid, and it was acting out in his life. How many things are we acting out based off of everybody around us? Good or bad? What are we acting out? Let's get back to the story. So the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon. And the very first thing that the angel said to him was, he called him a mighty warrior. He called Gideon, a guy who was obviously afraid. He had fear in him. He called him a mighty warrior. So the word that came to him was a word that was trying to unlock or open his perception on what God put on the inside of him. He couldn't see it because his response was, it was two things. He focused on his family being the least of all of the other tribes and the weakest. So he focused on his weaknesses and the fact that they are the least likely to be strong or least likely to succeed. He was focusing on the conditions that he knew. That's it. How many times do we? I can think of countless times that I have focused on the conditions in my life. Like that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be. There was times I was broke, and I'm broke. There was times I was depressed and sad. I'm depressed and sad. These things exist. So we're not going to act like they don't. They exist. They're real. There's times in everybody's lives where we struggle. But again, he basically received a word that was contrary to his condition. And he responded to it like most of us do. Most of us are guilty of, include myself, of looking at the conditions around us and refuting anything that can come in and change those conditions for the better, because we've been conditioned in a space where our belief system now becomes locked. If 1 + 1 = 2, then this plus this event, that event equals this event. And that's it. We look at it like it's an equation. We lock it in. It's amazing, though. The voice came back again from the angel and said, "You're a mighty warrior." And see, this is a phenomenal moment. This is a phenomenal moment because God is always reaching out to us in a space where we're lost, a space where we're trapped, a space where we're bound. He always reaches into those spaces. And if we can only hear him, open up our ears where the spirit man can hear and see what God has placed on the inside, we will become unstoppable. And I'm not talking about externally to any force around us as if we're supposed to go and conquer all of these forces around. The force that I'm talking about conquering is the force inside of us, the force that locks us into a belief system that says, I am not a confident person. I am not worthy of anything great. We talk all these negative things, and because again, the conditioning around us. So the word that is trying to come from the Lord, it can't penetrate, it can't come in. So the challenge is for us to analyze our belief system, to do some deep investigation to figure out why we believe what we believe, and to interrogate it in such a way, those questions in such a way, or this entire idea in such a way where we can really get some answers and start to build a strategy to be free. The whole meaning behind this podcast, again, is breakthrough. We can't break through something that we don't even know we need to break out of. There's certain things we need to break out of. We don't even see. Harriet Tubman said something fire. She said that she freed hundreds and hundreds of slaves. She said she could have freed way more slaves if, in fact, they knew that they were slaves. Their conditioning in their minds was so locked in, it was so deep rooted, that they didn't even see themselves as being slaves, to see themselves as being in the condition of servitude. They just didn't want to give it up. I want to grow in a particular area where I no longer need external validation in order to feel and to know that I'm important, that I'm valuable. And so I'll look at the strategy that I need to develop in order to now move these different challenges in a way where, of course, it's not going to happen overnight, but where I'm slowly, gradually chipping away at all of the negative influence that those different elements have on my life. And the strategy, as in, what is my step one going to be? What is my step two going to be? What is my step three going to be? What outcome am I looking for? Dealing with the things, the complexities, these challenges in a way where we formulate a strategy. It's this whole ideology or this thought process on being like an ostrich. One of the things that ostriches do. Now, I've never seen this before. I mean, I've seen ostriches on National Geographic, and they get out of Dodge when danger come around. But one of the thoughts is that they put their head down in the ground, right? I've seen it in the cartoons and heard that a little bit. But just think about the thought. Like, okay, fear comes around. I'm gonna hide my head in the ground. Like, fear is just gonna stop. I'm gonna put my head. Fear's not gonna stop. You're gonna be dinner. That's what's gonna be. You're gonna be dinner. It's not putting my head in the ground. It's like looking around, analyzing what's going on. The courage. See, this is where I think a lot of us struggle. I know that this is a big thing, huge thing, especially in today's social media driven society. It's having the courage to be authentically you, who you are, how God made you. That is a challenge. That's a real challenge, because most of our value, if we're honest, and I can say this even for myself at certain levels. If we're honest, most of our value that we have developed over the years for ourselves, it comes because of the systems and the people around us that we took it. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take this. Oh, I'm pretty. I'll take that. I'm handsome. Oh, I'll take that. I'm smart. Oh, I'll take that. I'll take all. And before you know it, we have all of these things piled up in this storage unit, and we don't even know how to function or operate on them, because you got a quantity of items that have been validated by other people. But they've been given to us by other people. And so now the space is taken up, and there is a quantity of these validation. I'm validated here, validated there. I'm feeling good here. I'm feeling good, this, that, and the other. But there's no quality there. And the reason why the quality is missing is because the quality, not quantity, it's not how many, it's not coming from you. It's not coming from what God planted on the inside of you. My man Gideon was saying what he said when that voice came through, when that instruction came through. You're a mighty man. He said what he said because everything that he had received up until that point was given from him externally. So after we notice the problem, the next thing that we start to notice, once we lock in, then I'm going to believe, we begin to see the potential. We start to look at seeds like they're crazy valuable. Once the problem becomes clear, the potential starts to show. Wait a second. You mean I can be free in that area? You mean that I don't have to walk around with low self-esteem? You mean to tell me I can be confident even though I don't know something? Yes, you can. The beautiful thing about seeing the potential is you're not looking at the final result. You're not looking at the polished version or the version that has gone through the process. You're looking at the raw. Listen to this, y'all. You're looking at the raw. We are looking at the raw, untapped, and underestimated seed. Raw, untapped, and underestimated. When you have a seed in your hand, the seed is not impressive unless your perspective sees it as valuable. Unless your perspective understands that once you put that seed in the ground and you take care of it the way you're supposed to take care of it, that it can make thousands and thousands of more seeds, that it then recycles the same thing that it is. Seeds are not really impressive in the hand. Now, someone would rather much more have a tree that is big, that is producing fruit already. It's like, look at my tree. Those are the things that we post. Those are the things that we talk about and we boast about. We talk about the tree. We're going to talk about all of the fruit. Yo, look at my life. Look at this. Look at that. The whole nine. We don't talk about the seed, though. And the seed is the most valuable thing in the entire process or equation. Why? Because the seed is the thing that creates the tree. Once we start seeing the problem, then we start valuing the seed. We stop giving our seeds away. We stop misplacing the seed. We stop devaluing it so much. We protect the seed. And protecting the seed means that I am not going to allow any belief system or any belief come into my system in ruining my understanding of the potential behind the seed. You don't have that job yet, or you don't have that growth in your business, or you don't have that relationship that you want, or you haven't improved the relationship that you're in, or all of the various things that you can put in that. Just put on the line, create your list. Those are seeds, and we have to see them as seeds. It's challenging even for me. This is a challenge for all of us, y'all. When we start valuing seeds, we start understanding that the potential is often truly discovered in the darkness. Again, everybody wants the fruit to show. But there is no fruit if there is no growth, and there is no growth if there is no darkness. So there are going to be times where we're not going to be able to, the thought can't even connect to this idea of look at what I got, look at where I am, look at what I've accomplished. Although the aim is the accomplishment, although the aim is the improvement, although the aim is the correction or the realignment, we can't even share it because the seed we got to plant the seed, put it under the ground in the dirt, cover that bad boy up where nobody can see it. It's not going to grow where everybody can see it. And even as it starts to sprout up, sprouts are not impressive. They're not like, ooh, there's a sprout. Man, it's so big and strong. People want to see the tree. Society wants to see the tree. We want to see the tree. When we begin to see the potential, we understand that it is discovered in the darkness. Gideon didn't look like a warrior. Gideon didn't act like a warrior. He didn't sound like a warrior at all. If you navigate that story a little deeper, you'll start seeing that Gideon's belief system started to change. It started to evolve. Listen to this. This is powerful. When Gideon's belief system started to evolve, I need y'all to hear this. It was contradictory to everybody around him. Man, that's all it takes is one. All it takes is one seed. All it takes is one belief. All it takes is one person to believe that something is possible. To believe it so much that that nobody else has to see it. Nobody else has to believe it. To challenge ourselves in a way where we don't give a crap about what other people think. I'm a little older now. I'm 48 years old. You see the gray hair. I don't know what it is about age when you get a little older and you start growing. If you're growing and you continue to learn, you start to I don't care what people think. You can think what you want to think. You can think whatever you want to think. I am going to continue to march to the drum of belief. My belief system will be protected. I'm going to protect my belief system. I'm not going to let just anything come up in here. I'm not looking for quantity. I don't want to fill this space up with just a whole lot of external validative things that make me feel good about myself. No, I want to be able to wake up in the morning, look myself in the mirror and bow my head and say, thank you, God, for being alive. Then put my face back up, look at myself with boogers in my eyes, the whole nine, breath funky in the whole nine, knowing I'm going to fix that, but knowing that I can look at myself and say, bro, I love you, man. I love you, man. You good. I believe in you. We're going to go do this. God loves you. That's the only validation we need is the validation that comes from God. God loves you. You don't know something? Study. But don't let the what you don't know take your confidence away. You keep your confidence, whatever room you walk into. Don't try to fit in. Don't try to fit in and try to fit some group or some person or some personality that's not even you. Be authentic. Let your light shine, the light that God gave you. Everybody's light is different. You start speaking to yourself like this once you understand the value in that seed. The value in that seed is like, oh my gosh, I see it now. I see the tree before it's even a tree. I know what it is now. This seed right here, I'm going to protect it. So I'm not letting just anything come into my belief system. And I'm going to continue to evolve and do an analysis and figure out what's in there and do a cleanup. If I need to take some things out of my belief system, I'm not intimidated by that. I'm not afraid of that. Because that's what breakthrough is. That's what freedom is. We ain't going to never be free if we don't do the work on ourselves. Not everybody else. I can't control or help somebody else navigate their own belief system if I'm not doing it for myself. Is it challenging? Yes. Because there's some things that we don't want to let go of in our belief system. Everybody around Gideon was afraid. Nobody said, yo, Gideon, what are you doing? You sitting up in there in a wine press threshing wheat. What are you doing, man? You supposed to be doing it outside. Nobody said that to him. So it was acceptable. We got to stop letting things that are below what God has planted on the inside of us be acceptable. It's not acceptable. You got to say it. We have to say it. Every day we wake up. If you can't look yourself in the mirror in the morning, regardless of the circumstances that you're in, and we're not talking about not feeling like, things are going the way you want them to. Yes, we all have those human connectivity with problems. We all gonna have problems. That's the bottom line. Get used to it. If you're living in life, you're going to have problems. We all have problems. What I'm talking about is regardless of the problems, regardless of the circumstances, we still should be able to look at ourselves and have value for ourselves because we understand the seed. Just because you broke and don't have a job right now, that doesn't mean that you won't in the future. That doesn't mean that you don't have the seed to make that happen in your life. Just because that relationship is toe up from the flow up and you feel like it's never going to be where it is, doesn't mean that you can't have a tree from that. We have got to learn how to protect our belief system. We got to learn how to clean our belief system up. And we have to learn how to operate in a space where belief, faith becomes real, becomes something that is ours, authentic, as authentic and as unique as our fingerprint. Woman walked up to Jesus and touched the hem of his garment and was healed. He stopped the whole crowd and said, "Yo, what? Who touched me?" Disciples were like, "What are you talking about? It's a lot of people around you." He said, "No, that was a different touch right there." He said, "That was a different touch." He said, I felt something from that. I felt some power. Something happened. When he finally got to her, she was like, she was healed. And she was like, Lord, she was a little intimidated because don't be afraid. Your faith. Listen, y'all, he said, he didn't say your next door neighbor's faith. He didn't say your mama's, your daddy's faith. He didn't say your preacher's faith. He didn't say your deacon's faith. He didn't say nobody else's faith. He said your faith. That's possession, y'all. I possess my faith. You possess your faith. He said your faith has made you whole. What are you doing with your faith today? What are you doing with your belief system today? What are you doing? Man. We begin to do the work. The work, y'all. You got a seed in your hand. We all got a seed. We all got seeds. We got to start protecting those seeds. Planting those seeds. Working. Watering them. God is going to give the increase. God will. He will. Because he created all of this. You better develop your own faith. You better develop your own. When times are nearing catastrophic times, you can't be relying on somebody else's faith. It got to be yours. All right. I think I done talked enough for the night. Thank y'all so much for joining the 150 podcast. This is episode 5. I really hope and pray that you were encouraged, that you was motivated, inspired, and you do something with this. We don't want to just hear something and not be doers. We got to be doers. Share this with somebody. Share this with somebody who you believe needs this. I believe we all need a little some of this. Again, as a reminder, we will be starting a men's group. That men's group will be meeting virtually initially, and we're also going to have some events where we're just going to hit some coffee shops up, hit some restaurants up, get together, link in. I got brothers reaching out to me all the time, young brothers and older alike, who have issues that they want to deal with, and they don't feel like they have the platform to deal with them. So reach out, comment, like, subscribe again, but just be looking forward also to some information on that group, and we'll go from there. Y'all know how I rock out. I rock out the same way all the time. Live 150. Live 150. Till next time. See y'all. Love y'all. See y'all.